Welcome. Today we're going to talk about APA. All of your papers in social work should be done using APA, and you can find some more help at the APA website or at OWL, or in the APA style manual. All of the papers that you write for this class should have a cover page. Centered or a little bit 1/3 from the bottom, either one is fine. You should first write the title. In this case, my title of this paper is Attachment and Foster Children, Key Places for Social Work Intervention. Drop down and place your name, and then the course, and then the date that the paper is due. Now, because this is a group paper, I want every single member's name on this cover page, and I want a cover page every time you submit a paper. In-text citations. So when you're writing something, you have to cite somebody because you got it from somewhere. So you have to say where you got it from. Otherwise, it's plagiarism. So here's a paragraph that I wrote, and you'll see in red near the bottom, I have left parentheses, and I have CWLA, comma, 2008, right parentheses, and then a period on the outside. So at the end of the paragraph that I wrote, I put that in-text citation. CWLA is the Child Welfare League of America, and it's an agency, and it's the author of the document that I got this from. So it actually didn't give the person's name. The agency was the author. So you put the agency in there if the agency is the author. If it had been Ben Smith, I would have written Smith. So you only write the last name of the person. Now, earlier in this paper, I actually mentioned the Child Welfare League of America previously, so therefore I could use the acronym CWLA. However, the first time you use it in the paper, you want to spell out what the acronym means so that people know that. Okay? So, in your paragraph, when you're done talking about something, then you cite it. You say where you got it from by using parentheses, and inside the parentheses you put the author's last name, comma, and the year. Okay, sometimes there's a couple different documents that you get something from. So on this next slide, I talk about Bowlby's theory of attachment. Well, I read two different things that talked about the specific topic. And so at the end of that, you'll see I've got left parentheses, Bowlby, comma, 1969, and then I have a semicolon, and then I have the second document that I read, Bowlby and Ainsworth, comma, 1991, right parentheses. So when there's more than one source, you use a semicolon to separate them. I also want to point out when there's two authors, so you see the second authors, Bowlby and Ainsworth, instead of writing out the word and, you use the symbol, the and symbol. Okay? Okay, so sometimes we'll actually talk about the author in our paragraph. So on this next slide, the paragraph starts, Mary Ainsworth has contributed to attachment theory. And so when I say that, I want to put the year in after her. So I said Mary Ainsworth, left parentheses, 1978, right parentheses. So that would be how you properly cite it when you're discussing the author's name. And then again at the end of the paragraph, I have her citation again, left parentheses, Ainsworth, comma, 1978, right parentheses, and a period. Now you notice I cited twice here. So what I want to emphasize is, when in doubt, double cite. You don't want to be accused of plagiarism. You want to make sure to cite. Okay. I also want to point out that some of these references are older. You want to use the most recent references that you can find. However, if there is a seminal study or really important authors that create a theory, you want to make sure to include them. So Bowlby and Ainsworth are really important authors that created attachment theory, so that's why I cite them, even though they're older. Okay, on the next slide we're going to talk about using two authors again. So partway through the paragraph, I'm talking about attachment styles are considered to be behavioral strategies that children learn as they interact with their caregivers to get their needs met. Now I have to cite that. And so I have left parentheses Hess, and I use the and symbol, and then Maine is the other author, comma, 2000, and a right parentheses, and then once again the period is always on the outside. Then I go on to say something else, and then at the end of when I'm saying something else, I'll cite somebody else, because somebody else will give credit for that. So sometimes you'll have more than one person's or more than one document cited in a paragraph, and you just cite them after their part of that paragraph. So when you have more than one author, you use the and symbol between the last two authors' names. So if there was 3 authors, I would say author 1, comma, author 2, and then the and symbol, and then author 3. Okay. So here's an example of 3. Actually, this is an example of 4, excuse me. So in the first paragraph, I'm talking about mothers of insecure avoidant infants, and at the end of it, I have 4 authors there. So I have left comma Sroof, or excuse me, left parentheses Sroof, comma Egeland, comma Carlson, and then the end sign Collins, the last author, comma 2005, right parentheses and a period. And then in the next paragraph, I'm talking about something they said again. So the first time I cite all of those authors, I need to put them all in there. But after that, I can use the et al option. So I use the first author's name, Sroof, and then I say et al, period, comma, 2005. And that will refer back to that other citation with all those other authors. Okay? So you can use the first author's last name and et al. The second and the following times you cite a source with 3 or more authors. Okay, so here I did it again. I combined a couple different techniques. So I talked about the authors first, Sroof et al., and then I put parentheses 2005. And here I use the quote, define development as, quote, changes in organization of behavior over time, end quote. When you do that, you'll have to put the page number in. So I have parentheses, the small letter P, period, 39, right parentheses, and then the period on the outside. And then I went on to talk about other things. So in general, we try not to quote, but to paraphrase instead. However, when you do quote, you have to include the page number. Another option, if I hadn't actually stated out the authors right there, Sroof et al., and I just said development can be defined as, and then I gave their definition, I still would have used the quotes, but in parentheses I could have then said Sroof et al., period, comma, 2005, and then semicolon, P, period, 39, and then the right colon. So if you don't actually mention the author's name in the paragraph, you can cite the quote at the end of the quote, but make sure to include the page number after a semicolon. Okay, always have a reference page at the end of your paper, and it's centered and it says references. That's APA. It does not say works cited, it does not say bibliography, it says references. So our first reference, and you see the author's name is Flush, so we put the last name of the author, comma, and then the initials. Now this person is Mary Ainsworth, and she actually uses MDS, so she has 3 initials there. So the author gets to decide what they use. And then in parentheses, the year, 1979, and a period. And then this is a book, Patterns of Attachment, a psychological study of the strange situation. So when it's a book, you put it in italics, and all of the first letters of every word are capitalized. Notice that the second line is indented 5 spaces of a reference, and the following lines are also. Okay, so after the title we put a period, And then we put the publisher, Lawrence Earlbaum Associates, with a semicolon and where they're from. They're from New Jersey, with a period. Okay, so titles of books are in italics, and the first letter of each word is capitalized. The next reference is a journal article. So again, we start with our author's last name. Now, this is Alan, comma, and then he uses JP for initials, comma, and then I use the and symbol, and the last name Manning, and he uses N. He only has one initial he uses. 2007. Now, the title of a journal article is not italics. Instead, the journal's italics. And also notice that only the first letter of the first word in the title is capitalized. The rest of them are not. Unless there's a colon. After the colon, it's considered like a new sentence, and you capitalize that first word again. So then after that we have a period after that title, and then we have the journal, and that's in italics and all caps again. After that we put a period, and you'll notice the number 117. That's the volume number, but don't put a V. If there was an issue, I would put issue number. I'd put it in parentheses and put the issue number after that. And then I have a comma, and then the page number. It's page 23 through 39, but there's no P there. There's just the numbers, and it ends with a period. Now, one of the new things that you'll see is a DOI number. If you have the DOI number of your article, go ahead and put it there at the end. Some of the older articles don't have DOI numbers, so you won't see them. So my examples here are older. They're from my master's project, so I don't have the DOIs. So once again, the title of articles only have the first word capitalized, and the journal name is in italics, and the first letter of each word is capitalized. Okay, the next one is a citation for a website. So this was my Child Welfare League of America site, comma, 2008. So the agency was the author. And I put 2008 in parentheses. The year is always in parentheses with a period. And then the title. So the title was National Fact Sheet 2008, and then a period. And then I put the URL, where I got that from. Okay. So that's how we do a website. All of these references should be double-spaced, and on each of them, the second and the following lines are indented. So if you have some other types of references that are trickier and not as easy to understand, I'm always willing to help you figure out how to cite it and how to do the references. And you can look in the APA manual. You can look at the OWL from Purdue. And you can also look at the library when you find a document. There's some options to click as you're searching for an APA citation, so you can check that out too. But when in doubt, go ahead and ask me and I'll give you some help. So I hope this has helped you with your APA.